Yes, Madam President, thank you very much. Proclamation 0835, a proclamation honoring Joel Noble for nearly 20 years of service to Denver. Whereas Joel Noble ceas- has advocated for Denver residents by devoting his time and expertise as a volunteer and voice of reason for his neighborhood, community organizations, and the city and county of Denver for nearly 20 years. And whereas, dis- despite his calm, formal public persona, Joel is known among friends for his humor, creativity, and love of board games, birding, and travel. And whereas Joel joined the Curtis Park Neighbors Board in 2004 and has since served as their newsletter editor and publisher, Planning and Zoning Committee co-chair, Neighborhood Plan Committee chair, advisory board member, vice president, and president. And whereas he served as a volunteer for the Park Avenue Cop Shop, which provided a safe and friendly place where community members, both with and without permanent housing, could file police reports for nonviolent crimes, meet with officers in a safe, and share information to help address areas of entrenched criminal activity. And whereas Joel worked to revitalize Welton Street as a board member and officer of the Five Points Business District and community advisory team member for the Colorado Sustainable Main Streets Initiative, Five Points Welton Street Marketplace. And whereas through his service as a co-chair of the Denver Right Denver Transit Plan Task Force member of the Colfax Corridor Connection Task Force and participation in the Regional Transportation District East Corridor Working Group, Central Corridor Extension, Past Program Working Group, and the Central Rail Extension Mobility Study Project Oversight Committee and Task Force, Joel represented the Curtis Park neighborhood and Denver residents in transit planning. And whereas Joel is an advocate for safe and accessible multimodal transportation as a founding member and steering committee representative of the Vision Zero Coalition, founding member and ongoing chair of the INC Transportation Committee, mayoral appointee to the Elevate Denver Geo Bond Transportation and Mobility Working Group, chair of the Welton Street Marketplace Initiative, Transportation Transit Committee, and member of the Downtown Denver Partnership Transportation and Development Committee, Street Blog Denver Advocacy Board, Street Blog Denver Citizens Academy, and the Human Transit Reading Group. And whereas Joel has shaped and preserved Denver's built environment as co-author of Curtis Park Landmark District E, F, G, and H, co-chair for the Denver Right Blueprint Denver Task Force, a Denver Planning Board representative, and Community Planning and Development's General Development Plan Working Group, a member of the 38th and Blake Station Area Planning Committee, 38th and Blake Height Amendment Effort, and Working Group for the Northeast Downtown Denver Neighborhood Plan, Arapahoe Square, the Community Planning and Development General Development Working Group, and the INC Zoning and Planning and Committee. Whereas Joel was appointed by Mayor Michael Hancock to the Denver Planning Board in 2014, where he served as a level-headed, knowledgeable member for 3 consecutive terms. And whereas he was appointed by Mayor Michael Hancock to be chair of the Denver Planning Board in 2018, a position he held until May of this year, 2023. And whereas Joel Noble's last day as a member of the Denver Planning Board was this past week, June 17, 2023. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Council of the City and County of Denver, Section 1, that the Council of the City and County of Denver honors Joel Noble for his service and dedication to the people of Denver. Section 2, that the Secretary of Council shall affix the seal of the City and County of Denver to this proclamation and that it be transmitted to Joel Noble.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Sandoval, your motion to adopt.
I motion that Proclamation 0835 be adopted.
Thank you. And that's been moved and seconded. Comments by members of council. Councilwoman Sandoval.
Thank you, Madam President. I was thinking about how to sum up in my comments everything that I read on the proclamation for Joel Noble, and I guess I'll just share my personal experience. When I was hired as a council aide 11 years ago, I first got to know Joel Noble when the Arapahoe Square Planning Initiative took off. I was working for Councilwoman Montero in Council District 9. And I was immediately fascinated by this gentleman who knew so much about zoning, which I thought he must have a master's or PhD in zoning. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, that Joel actually is self-taught a zoning expert. And after 11 years of being with Denver City Council, I also am a self-taught zoning expert. And I would say that me being self-taught is having watched Joel Noble on different initiatives, watching him at planning board, watching him ask really thoughtful questions, questioning better outcomes for Denver, and really pushing the envelope. So I would say that my opportunity to be chair of the land use committee, my opportunity to have almost rezoned 75% of my neighborhood to add ADUs, to have done two design overlays and one conservation overlay, is in part to having watched Joel Noble over the years and his expertise and wisdom. So I just want to say thank you, Joel, for helping me become a better council person and land use commissioner. Oftentimes people forget that at Denver City Council, we're land use commissioners and city council members, and that a big chunk of our time is actually dedicated to land use. Even though only 10% of the city goes through rezonings, it feels like a huge chunk of my time as an elected official. And I just want to thank you for your dedication to 20 years to Denver and all of the committees that you've sat on. You've made them better, which has made our planning process better and our plans better. And although you won't be on the planning board any longer, I hope you aren't a stranger, and just know that I might be reaching out to you in my next term to pick your brain and ask your advice and see how you would tackle some situations that we're about to face. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ortega.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to make some comments on behalf of Joel Noble, who I first became acquainted with when I was the council person for the district that he lives in, for the Curtis Park neighborhood. And he has been active in his community where he lives, but the broader community for many, many years. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you for all of your volunteer activism on behalf of this city and neighborhoods across the city. You didn't just advocate for your own community, but you did that for all of our neighborhoods. I know that you served on the group living, I don't remember if it was a task force or just a work group, but with Councilwoman Kinich and myself. And you know, the neighborhood perspective of how we looked at all of that was an important part of coming to the decisions that were brought before and adopted by this body of council. So, and I want to thank you for bringing your parents here tonight as well. I had an opportunity to meet them, and just have to say you did a great job. He's been an amazing community partner with all of us, and this recognition is very well deserved, and I am very happy to vote in favor of this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cashman.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Joel, good to see you here with your family. 20 years is a very good start, and I hope you don't think your work is done yet. You want to take a breather, feel free, but I expect you to come back renewed energy. Um, Joel is not the only person in Denver that works hard for the city and the goals that we try to achieve, but he is one of them and is very notable in that regard. My experience is you are compassionate and committed and reasonably intelligent young man. And I bring that up because that's from my perspective, kind of a double-edged sword in that most of the time in my conversations with Joel over the years, we're pretty much on the same page on a lot of things, but there are those times when we're not. And I always walk away from those conversations going, ooh, I better look at this again. Don't always agree, but it always gives me pause to reconsider my position. You make a great contribution, appreciate the effort that you've put in, and seeing you there with your folks. Years ago, when I was a journalist and Mayor Webb was in office, and he had a local TV show on Channel 8, and he interviewed me one day, and at the commercial break he said, "What do you think of this stuff?" I said, "You know, I really don't like being on camera like this." And he said, "You know what this is good for?" He says, "When we're all done, I'll get you a tape of the show and your mom's gonna love it." So we can get you that, Joel. Congratulations.
Thank you. Councilman Hines?
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Noble, we have known each other for quite some time. I think we probably first met when you had a leadership position with Blueprint Denver. By leadership, I mean you were co-chairing it, which we talk about all the time here, basically every Monday night. I'm not sure I recall the last time we had a council meeting without some sort of reference to Blueprint, but you have been a fabulous shepherd for our city and as a volunteer, which is nuts. But we all have to be a little crazy to really be committed to ensuring the success of our city and committed. And you've been very committed. So thank you for your commitment to our city. And I believe your background is actually in technology. So even more interesting that that one would put aside the earning potential and excitement, you know, as a computer science graduate, excitement of the technology field for the excitement of land use and planning is pretty awesome. So I believe people have asked you to consider public office in the past. Here we are on the record saying, you know, maybe you should, with your next incarnation, rather, consider public office. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kinich?
Thank you so much to my co-sponsor, Councilmember Sandoval, for taking the lead on this. I'm proud to be a co-sponsor based on the many years that we've worked together. And I guess I would like to just add a few personal perspectives to the rich work that's acknowledged in the planning history and all of the things that are in the proclamation, which is a little bit about the how you've done your work, which I think is the grace with which you've challenged yourself. And often, sometimes those of us on council, but also those of your neighbors when there have been challenging issues. The issue of homelessness is one that you and I have probably spent the most time with outside of formal committees on affordable housing. You live in a neighborhood that has struggled with the question of urban density and where should services or housing of certain types be, and the question of, you know, what's the limits of inclusivity, and, you know, we don't get to necessarily choose where providers get access to land, and those are really tough issues. I've watched you navigate, in many cases, ask neighbors to reconsider language, and often try to find common ground, try to find ways to yes, and, right? Yes, we need more of this, and how do we look to create more openness in new communities? I've seen you take up the mantle of advocating for new types of housing and services across the city. When Debbie mentioned, sorry, Councilwoman Ortega, we've worked together so long. She feels like an old friend, right? We just, it's at that point now, right? We're getting pretty emotional at the end. When Councilwoman Ortega mentioned the group living process, you know, the types of housing models that were discussed, you know, I think that just watching the thoughtfulness with which you engaged in that process, the dignity with which I always heard you refer to all of the members of our community, regardless of the intensity of the conversation, those are the things I will remember about what you brought to these conversations. Yes, your policy acumen, yes, your land use knowledge, but there was a lot of dignity, and I watched your knowledge of the equity issues grow, and I watched you change your position at times on things, and become open to things that at times your neighborhood was not. And that I'm sure must have been very difficult to you coming up from the neighborhood perspective. But sometimes saying, no, we need to challenge ourselves more in this. And I also saw you continue to challenge us to do more and better and differently. And so I want to thank you for all of the grace and dignity with which you sought to speak up for those of all backgrounds, including those without homes and those of incomes that, you know, were lower and needed to be housed in our city, and be inclusive. So thank you for that, as well as for all the other accomplishments and acknowledgments from my colleagues. Thank you for, and I will say I sincerely enjoyed the many committees and opportunities we had to serve together. I will miss working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Council President. I'm trying not to repeat what everyone's already said and all of the amazing things about you. I just wanted to add a personal thank you. I've always known that you're one of the smartest people in basically any room that you're in, especially when it comes to city stuff. And I've always appreciated your willingness to let me pick your brain. Also your, immediate, let's jump in and let's tackle this from a very deep level, where sometimes I'm like, oh man, I think I'm in over my head here and I got to go back and do my research so that I can come back and debate with you. And I think it always helped me. It helped me to grow. It helped me to expand my understanding of an issue. And I've always looked forward to our chats and our get-togethers and learning from you. And I think, as other people have said, there are a lot of people who love this city, but I think you are one of those examples of someone who just lives and breathes and bleeds your passion for this city, and it's inspiring. And I appreciate everything that you've done for the city that I love, and for me personally on this journey on City Council. So thank you for that. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gilmore.
Thank you, Council President. And Joel, thank you for your service to the city. And I know that we had conversations before the pandemic about what your additional service may be. But first, I think you should just celebrate all of the work that you have done over the last 20 years and how much you have impacted all neighborhoods in the city and county of Denver. And your thoughtfulness, your deliberation, your wanting to do the best that we can possibly do for our neighborhoods, that goes so far. And just want to say congratulations and appreciate your service. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Herndon.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to again share my congratulations to Joel. It's been an honor working with you for these past 12 years. I love your thoughtfulness. You are pragmatic. You are a true public servant. And what I appreciate is you don't talk just to speak. You will just share your comments, and then you will be done. And it's just, I love how you can be succinct to make a point without having to be extremely long-winded, which is really a gift when it comes to the work that you do. And lastly, I was just thinking about this. I don't think I've ever heard you yell. just about everybody else we work with, I've heard that. But even when your frustrations I've seen, you still were able to be calm, and you can disagree and not be disagreeable. And for that, I would sincerely say thank you for all you've done. And you're not done up to this point, and best of luck.
Thank you very much. Just want to add a few of my own comments, Joel. It's been amazing to get to know you over the past 4 years and watch how you are a leader on planning board and how you are a collaborator on planning board. And it's not an easy board to sit on, to serve. It is a lot of really thick information, but you're really watching how this city transforms. And I think you've brought both an explanation of that to the average resident, to myself, in a way that makes me feel like I'm a part of that conversation. So just a lot of appreciation for you, and I know you stay involved, and hope we continue to cross paths. So thank you, Councilwoman Sandoval and Kinich, for tonight's proclamation. Seeing no one else in council, Councilwoman Sandoval, your motion to adopt. We did that already. Comments. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Sita Baca? Herndon?
Aye.
Black? Aye. Clark?
Aye.
Flynn?
Aye.
Gilmore?
Aye.
Hines?
Aye.
Cashman?
Aye.
Kinich? Ortega?
Aye.
Sandoval?
Aye.
Sawyer? Aye. Madam President.
Aye. Madam Secretary, close the voting and announce the results.
12 ayes.
12 ayes, proclamation 23-0835 has been adopted. We have some time for the proclamation acceptance. Councilwoman Sandoval, please call up whoever you'd like to accept.
I would like to call up Joel Noble, please.
Thank you, Council President and City Council. I'm joined here by my parents, Bob and Mary Beth Noble. They've long wondered what I spend my time on. I usually just say I go to a lot of meetings, and you've ruined the mystery. So thank you. I'm honored by your recognition, and it's especially meaningful for the chair of LUDI, the Land Use Commission, and Councilwoman Kinich, who's brought forward so many transformative changes to sponsor this proclamation. It has for a long time been important to me that everyone have the opportunity to guide the evolution of our city. From the first time I heard about the year-long work my neighbors and CPD did to create the Curtis Park Neighborhood Plan in 1989, I have loved the idea that all of us together are actively involved in steering our evolving city. Community-developed plans at a citywide and a small area level, guiding the change that we're working towards, connected to our agreed-upon values and vision, is empowering. I learned a lot at meetings organized by Michael Henry, INC co-founder and longtime zoning and planning chair, who brought together city staff and electeds and neighborhoods from across the city every month. But at those meetings, I also learned that not all neighborhoods, as a matter of fact, very few, had any recent or any at all neighborhood plans. So the change and being a part of the change that my neighborhood was used to didn't feel empowering to them. It felt like something external, something that was happening to them, something confusing and something to react to. And that's when I knew I wanted to be a part of helping the whole city feel as much a part of designing Denver's future as my neighbors and I do. And to help ensure that the change that happens follows the plans that we make. My neighbor John Hayden, when he was attending planning school, invited all of his neighbors to read Jane Jacobs with him, and I highlighted the quote, "Cities have the capability of providing something for everybody, only because and only when they're created by everybody." In 2014, INC adopted its zoning and planning platform, which calls for every neighborhood to have a neighborhood plan updated every 15 years. And shortly after that was adopted and that position was transmitted, CPD under Brad Buchanan began the Neighborhood Planning Initiative to put that goal into practice. This vital program continues under Laura Aldrete's leadership. In rewriting Blueprint Denver, a blueprint for an inclusive city, and all the related Denverite plans, the city went further than ever to reach deep into the community, holding the process accountable for ensuring broad, diverse involvement in developing our new 20-year vision and set of strategies. Emblematic of that, complete neighborhoods, complete networks, and equity. That's what Blueprint Denver is about. This is moving us in the right direction with more and deeper participation and a more broadly shared sense of being a part of the evolution of our city. Tomorrow is my last meeting at Planning Board. I'm grateful to Mayor Hancock for appointing me. The volunteer Planning Board members have diverse backgrounds, come from diverse parts of the city, bring diverse skills. In addition to planners, architects, developers, attorneys, and business owners, Denver has a strong tradition of holding seats for those of us who are none of the above. We're active neighborhood and community advocates, and I hope that continues for a long time. I'm very happy that Caitlin Quander is the new chair of the Denver Planning Board, and she has my full confidence. It's been wonderful to spend so much time with the staff that CPD appoints to Planning Board. These have all been people of great capacity, which also means they've been entrusted with great responsibility. And over the years, Tina Axelrad, who you know is now the zoning administrator, Shara Showalter, who's now the planning services director, Sarah White, who was stolen away by the private sector to lead big projects, Annalise Hoke, who you remember was the project manager for EHA, Enhancing Housing Affordability, a very complex package, and Andrew Webb, who was likewise the project manager for the group living package, which was very complex. I'll end with my request of council. It seems only natural standing at this podium to request something of council. And my request is this: keep going. Complete the NPI plans for all neighborhoods in the city and make it a continuing iterative process. Implement the strategies in Blueprint Denver and in our small area plans to achieve complete neighborhoods, complete networks, and equity for all. And translate plans into action. Sooner is better. Generations ago, those who sat in your seats had very different values than we have today, and they baked exclusion into the rules that regulate our city. Just one example. They made having roommates and sharing housing, things people have always done when they want to or they need to, illegal across most of the city. It took the city until 2021 to get past that. Thank you for getting there. There's more to do. Keep going. I am inspired by the recent pace that you've set on implementation. Just in recent months, the ADUs text amendment, outdoor places, modernizing the variance criteria, allowing temporary managed communities as a use by right, and so much more. This is the pace we need. You're translating planning into action, building on experience and proof of concept, and taking what works citywide. I'll keep going too, with you, with everybody. Council President, City Council, thank you again. I'm glad we're all here.
Thank you, Joel.